We have a great partnership here that we're announcing today. A young company, a CEO I really like, and he's trying to build a European AI company. The name of the company is Mistral. Today, we're announcing that we're going to build an AI cloud together here to deliver their models as well as deliver AI applications for the ecosystem of other AI startups so that they can use the Mistral models or any model that they like. And so Mistral and us, we're going to be partnering to build a very sizable AI cloud here, and we'll talk about more of it later on today with President Macron.
Increasing macroeconomic instability, geopolitical tensions, continuous tariff fights, export controls, and growing rivalry from Chinese companies are some of the issues that have affected NVIDIA's stock in recent months. Investors shouldn't allow the short-term commotion to divert them from the company's long-term growth possibilities, though, as seen by its recent earnings performance, which includes its strong financial first quarter of 2026. NVIDIA's first quarter fiscal 2026 earnings results, which ended on April 27th, confirm the company's dominance in the market for hardware, software, and infrastructure services driven by artificial intelligence, AI. In the first quarter, data center revenue jumped 73% year-over-year to $39.1 billion, while revenue jumped 69% year-over-year to $44.1 billion. In the upcoming 10 years, these tailwinds have the potential to increase NVIDIA's market value to above $5 trillion. At least for the foreseeable future, NVIDIA's hegemony in the AI chip industry, where it still holds a greater than 80% market share, should not be challenged. The company's most recent Grace Blackwell 200, GB200 graphics processing units, GPUs, allow businesses to execute computationally demanding AI reasoning models at a 20% lower cost and with 25 times the performance of Hopper H100 chips. Nearly 70% of data center compute revenues in the most recent quarter came from the Blackwell ramp-up, which was NVIDIA's fastest product launch ever. Nearly 72,000 Blackwell GPUs are already being deployed weekly throughout major hyperscalers' data centers, and they want to rapidly accelerate output this quarter. Additionally, NVIDIA anticipates that production sales will start by the end of the second quarter and is now sampling GB300 systems at major cloud service providers. These systems offer 50% greater high-bandwidth memory capacity and 50% more inference computing performance than GB200, but sharing the same architecture, physical size, and mechanical and electrical characteristics. Thus, cloud service providers can take advantage of improved performance by switching from GB200 to GB300 systems. Additionally, NVIDIA's software ecosystem has grown into a robust moat, guaranteeing that switching to rival CPUs will be unaffordable for consumers. Currently, 5.9 million developers use the company's extensive CUDA parallel programming framework to efficiently speed up GPUs for a range of general-purpose applications. Over 4,400 applications and all AI models are currently accelerated using CUDA. Consequently, in a market that is changing incredibly quickly, CUDA helps keep large infrastructure expenditures from becoming outdated. In order to guarantee the quick and effective operation of big language models, the business also introduced the TensorRT software package for inference real-time deployment of trained AI models optimization and the TensorRT LLM software library. In the initial deployment phase, NVIDIA teamed up with Humane, a recently established AI startup backed by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, to construct AI factories using 18,000 of its most recent GB300 Blackwell processors. NVIDIA is also a major player in the Stargate project, which aims to invest $500 billion in US-based AI infrastructure over the next 4 years, according to OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle. Over time, these strategic partnerships may prove to be important growth drivers for NVIDIA. By the end of January 26, 2025, the chipmaker's revenue had increased by 114% to $130.5 billion. The corporation is still expected to grow rapidly, even though analysts are predicting slower revenue growth rates for the upcoming years. So, what implications does this have for NVIDIA's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication, so if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on NVIDIA stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video.
Stacey, I feel like I sort of keep up with the news. And what's the catalyst for this mega chip move from the lows?
Well, I mean, after Liberation Day, the chips got hit pretty hard. They're a very global industry, if not the most global industry. And the idea of significant tariffs, not even on the chips necessarily, but on all of the products that contain the chips, which is basically everything, had the potential to cause a lot of disruption. And so, at least for now, as those tariffs have eased, that's certainly helped a lot, right? We've also had a lot of the names reporting and, especially some of the more cyclical names calling for a cyclical bottom in markets like industrial. And then clearly, you mentioned NVIDIA, but the AI trade, which had sort of faded, is now clearly back on. And so I think it's a combination of all those things.
I like that.
That has taken the stocks off the lows after they got completely whacked in April.
Let me reiterate those three. So for one, we're kind of, resetting the clock and pretending, I guess, like the tariff issue never happened. Just on that piece of it. Right. Because, look, I think that's a good point, though. There's still 55% tariffs on China. Maybe that doesn't matter. Are there any takeaways from the various layers of tariffs or controls that, NVIDIA, for instance, the last earnings call was supposed to be all about how much its China business had struggled because of export controls. Is nobody talking about that anymore? Like, is that just off the table?
No. So let's talk NVIDIA on that. So they clearly are. And in fact, the export controls have been meaningful. They're losing, tens of billions of dollars of business. What is helping them is that the rest of their business is so strong, it's actually okay. I mean, they took $8 billion out for next quarter. They guided $45 billion, which was kind of in line-ish with the street, but the street hadn't taken China out. If it wasn't for that, they would have guided 50. They would have printed 53 or 54. I mean, it's insane how strong that is. So that's where they're benefiting. They're ramping their Blackwell products. The demand is there. They're going to sell everything that they can get out the door this year. And at least for now, China being taken out now you could argue it's de-risked. Like anything that they can actually manage to sell into China, at least in the near term, will be upside rather than downside.
And your colleague, others who follow the stock have argued, look at the Middle East deals they just struck. Look at what's happening in the EU. So to your point, they've got that tailwind. Then you're saying we also have actually a better improving economy. So simply the cycle we were worried was going to turn for the worse is actually maybe going to turn for the better.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, what I said is like some of the cyclical names have been calling for a bottom. So take a market like industrial, which has been in a down cycle for like 8 or 10 quarters. So yes, at some point you ought to hit a bottom and hopefully channel inventories are lean. I think the question of sustainability is still open for debate. Right? I mean, because some of the macro data points in PMI and everything don't seem all that spectacular. And the tariffs, they're on pause for now, but I mean, they supposedly, the reciprocal tariffs supposedly come back in August, and we're waiting for the 232 tariffs on semi. So we don't actually know if the current strength we're seeing is actually real bottoming or if it's not. I mean, it could, in theory, just be pull forward in front of those tariffs. I'd say for now, though, things look better than people had thought. We'll have to see how things go as we move into the second half of the year. I don't think anybody knows.
NVIDIA's discrete activity, which hasn't garnered significant attention, lately indicates that a substantial growth initiative might be imminent. Toward the end of last month, the firm submitted a mixed shelf registration to regulators, permitting it to generate capital via equity or debt at any time over the next 3 years. NVIDIA presently has roughly 24 billion common shares and no preferred shares available. It is authorized for 80 billion common shares and 2 million preferred shares, indicating ample capacity for future sales launches. The shelf registration enables NVIDIA to rapidly organize an offering within this period, facilitating the ability to capitalize on positive market conditions and seize emerging opportunities. That is obviously a favorable aspect. The second major benefit is that this action indicates NVIDIA plans to invest soon. This could encompass several areas, including research and development, expanding factories, or possibly pursuing acquisitions. This willingness to invest suggests that growth prospects exist in the future, and NVIDIA, with its ability to rapidly generate funds, is in a strong position to take advantage of them. Evidence of NVIDIA's recent focus on growth has already been observed. In April, the company revealed plans to invest in 2 factories in the U.S. for producing American-made supercomputers, stating that production should increase in 12 to 15 months. So why does all of this matter to investors? As I noted, a major worry has centered around NVIDIA's growth in the future. However, given NVIDIA's dominance in a market expected to experience significant growth, there are grounds for optimism regarding the future. I predict that NVIDIA's choice to start a mixed shelf registration indicates the company is prepared to embark on a significant growth initiative, one that may benefit both the tech giant and its investors in the long run. To stay informed about the latest developments from NVIDIA and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on NVIDIA stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now, let's dive into today's video.
How much is riding on these days of talks? How much do you think ultimately does make a decision for you within your portfolio?
Yeah, I think we've seen the market react really well over the last couple of weeks to certainly a reduction in some of the tariffs on China and other countries as well. This would be very critical, I think, especially for the tech sector, especially talking about export restrictions. There's certainly parts of the tech sector like NVIDIA, most recently the electronic design automation companies that have been very hurt by export restrictions and tariffs. So for certain pockets of the market, I think this would be very impactful to see some of these trade negotiations play out.
Tiffany, how much of a risk premium is the president? When you look at any corner of the technology market and you say, I am going to bet on a company that this president has recently spoken favorably about or not favorably about, as the case may be, I'm talking, of course, about the volatility that he brings to any trade negotiation.
Yeah, I think it creates a lot of pause when you're thinking about companies that may be in focus from the president. Companies that have been talked about or sectors that have been talked about recently. But, you know, the worry as an investor is what will happen next that we haven't planned for or that we didn't see coming. So I think that, you know, companies that have been spoken about, have been targeted, are reflecting a bit of a risk premium. And you see this in a lot of the tech companies that are trading, you know, at discounts to where they were trading over the last couple of years, certainly relative to their own multiples, but also relative to the index as well. So I think that's reflected in some of the stocks. But again, the concern is what happens next, because it's hard to predict.
Boy, does Tim Cook want to know what happens next as well. And his own stock trading below usual multiples. They've been in the eye of the storm when it comes to the supply chain side of things. What do you make of the desire to make companies ultimately build in the US, perhaps be less profitable? Does that make them as appetizing as an investment?
It certainly doesn't. It hurts the profit margins, as you mentioned. I think it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out, because it takes multiple years to build a factory here. It probably takes longer than you know, President Trump is going to be in office. So due the announcement we've seen from companies building here, you know, maybe some of them make sense economically, maybe some of them are paying lip service to the administration. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But it's interesting that Apple specifically has been a little bit more defiant.
More defiant, but also perhaps more distracted is what people worry about. The fact that they are not playing catch up to this AI game as people had hoped with WWDC. What did you make of the event?
Yeah, I thought the event was a little bit disappointing for Apple. We were expecting to hear more exciting updates around Apple Intelligence, around AI, maybe around AI being incorporated into Siri. And instead, I think we saw more updates on improving the user interface, more features on existing applications. You know, the applications that maybe incorporate the most AI would be their updates on visual intelligence or live translation. But those also feel like they're playing a little bit of catch up versus applications that are already in the market from other providers.
On my Bloomberg terminal, Apple seems to be the top holding in the Columbia Large Cap Growth Fund. So let me know if that's right. But I think, like, so far this year, Apple has been trading on trade risk, right, on tariff risk. And when we were like literally in the car on the way to Apple WWDC, we were asking ourselves, has this name started trading on that AI concern yet or not?
I think we've seen that a little bit around the WWDC event. And we certainly saw that after the event yesterday, where people were a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a big AI announcement coming out of the keynote presentation. So I think we're seeing that a little bit. But Apple, like a lot of big tech companies, I think are still trying to figure out their strategy around AI and are putting a lot of money behind it.
Tiffany, you set yourself up for this by saying the big question is what happens next. For the technology sector, what happens next?
I think we're still very positive on the tech sector for the rest of the year. There's a lot of good tailwinds for the sector. Obviously, tariffs and export restrictions could come out of left field for the rest of the year. But there's a lot of good tailwinds for earnings growth, including AI investment that continues to be very strong across multiple parts of the market. If we look at earnings growth expectations for the rest of the year or for the full year, the tech sector is still expected to grow much faster than the rest of the market. And as I mentioned before, a lot of the valuations across certain subgroups of tech look very attractive versus their history. So we're still very positive on the sector.
And are you positive on the commitment of capital coming from these companies? Look at what Mark Zuckerberg's doing, devoting his own time, his own dining table, but also sheer quantities of cash to make sure that he tries to win AGI, as it's known.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not alone. Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon are all making huge investments into AI, and I think that has a great knock-on effect for parts of the semiconductor equipment, parts of software, other parts of the economy, including industrials, that all feed into that AI infrastructure.
With only $8.5 billion in long-term debt and over $52.7 billion in cash and cash equivalents, NVIDIA has a strong financial sheet. Additionally, the business produces a significant amount of free cash flow, FCF. It has produced around $72 billion in free cash flow over the last 4 reported quarters, with over $26 billion generated in the most recent quarter. NVIDIA outperforms 3 of its main rivals, Advanced Micro Devices, Intel, and Broadcom, in terms of both balance sheet and free cash flow generation. NVIDIA benefits from this in a number of ways, particularly when it comes to acquisitions. Despite having a far smaller cash position than NVIDIA, AMD has a strong balance sheet. In addition to having a significant amount of long-term debt in comparison to its cash position, Intel is also spending money rapidly, as seen by its negative free cash flow, FCF. Despite having a substantial long-term debt load in comparison to its cash position, Broadcom uses a sizable amount of cash to pay off its debt, despite producing solid cash flows given its size. How do these businesses oppose NVIDIA? Discrete graphics processing units are also produced by AMD and Intel for use in data centers handling AI tasks. According to industry research firm IoT Analytics, NVIDIA has a 92% market share in 2024. Additionally, AMD and NVIDIA are rivals in the gaming GPU market. NVIDIA and Broadcom are rivals in the data center networking market. Additionally, it produces custom chips known as application-specific integrated circuits for a number of hyperscalers. These chips are being utilized in place of GPUs for specific use cases. To put it briefly, NVIDIA appears ready to step up its acquisition activity in order to support its steady growth. The business has demonstrated a high level of acquisition expertise, and there is no reason to doubt that its impressive track record will continue. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.